Hello friends! If you were born on February 14th, you already know that your birthday is a special kind of magic. Not only do you share it with Valentine's Day, the universal celebration of love, but the cosmos seems to have stitched a very unique signature into your soul. Whether you're someone who reads horoscopes for fun or lives by planetary alignments, this deep dive into the personality, purpose, and partnerships of those born on February 14th will reveal layers you've never seen before. Let's go far beyond the surface and explore this incredible date across multiple dimensions: Western astrology, numerology, Vedic astrology, the Druid tree sign, flower symbolism, crystal connections, and even how you love, work, and form friendships. Ready to find out what the stars and stones say about you? Western astrology, Aquarius with a dash of fire. If you were born on February 14th, your sun sign is Aquarius, the 11th sign of the zodiac, traditionally ruled by Uranus, the planet of rebellion, revolution, and sudden change. But this date doesn't carry just the usual Aquarian energy. It pulses with something warmer, more electric, and yes, more emotional. While typical Aquarians are often painted as cool-headed visionaries, those born on February 14th carry a subtle spark of fire in their air, creating a rare fusion of innovation and intimacy. Born on Valentine's Day, your Aquarian identity is unusually heart-centered. You are still the independent thinker, the outsider, the one who doesn't follow trends but creates them, yet there's a gentler undertone in your nature, a longing to connect more deeply than most Aquarians are comfortable with. This unique blend makes you complex, charismatic, and sometimes even contradictory. People don't always know what to expect from you, and you like it that way. The influence of Uranus and the spirit of revolution. Uranus is not a gentle ruler. It's the cosmic wild card, the disruptor, the great awakener. Its influence makes February 14th Aquarians unpredictable and unafraid to challenge the status quo, in love, work, politics, or even personal fashion. You feel most alive when you're doing something new, especially if it shakes up stagnant systems. This planet brings you ideas that seem to fall out of nowhere, dreams, inventions, solutions no one else saw coming. Uranus governs sudden insight and genius, which explains your frequent lightbulb moments and unconventional interests. You may jump between careers, philosophies, or social circles with ease, but there's always a method to your madness. Even your chaos has structure. However, that same Uranian energy can make you impatient with slowness, overly reactive, or emotionally distant. You may value freedom so deeply that you hesitate to commit, whether to a person, a job, or a long-term vision. For you, life must remain limitless. Anything that starts to feel like a cage, you'll walk away before it closes. The air element, mind first, emotions later. Aquarius is an air sign, which means your primary operating system is intellect. You filter the world through logic, patterns, and possibilities. You don't just think outside the box, you wonder why a box exists at all. Conversation is your favorite form of intimacy, and you fall in love with people's minds before their faces. But here's where February 14th stands apart. Your air is warmer, more fragrant, charged with something more soulful. You are still someone who needs mental stimulation, but you're also more emotionally attuned. While many Aquarians can seem detached, you crave depth and shared values, not just clever banter. Still, you often lead with thoughts, not feelings. You like to analyze love, debate dreams, and ask, what if, questions about the future. Your emotional world is vast, but you express it in unusual ways. You might write someone a poem rather than say, I love you, or show affection through a random act of rebellion on their behalf. Born in the third decan, Venus adds heat to the cool. Here's the secret sauce. Being born between February 10th and 18 places you in the third decan of Aquarius. This slice of the zodiac is co-ruled by Venus, the planet of love, harmony, art, and beauty. And that changes everything. While Uranus makes you inventive and bold, Venus softens the edges. You have a greater appreciation for aesthetic, sensuality, and emotional nuance than the typical Aquarius. You might be drawn to music, design, photography, or anything that lets you blend idealism with creativity. You also tend to flirt more easily, and you're often more magnetic in your presence. Your romantic style is unconventional, but undeniably compelling. You might surprise people with how sensitive you are beneath the cool facade. This Venus influence gives you a stronger desire for partnership, as long as it doesn't cost your autonomy. You want a teammate, not a tether. People born in the third decan are usually more self-aware emotionally, too. You're better at recognizing your own patterns, even the messy ones, and you're more willing to grow in relationships. That doesn't mean you're a pushover. It just means you're emotionally intelligent enough to know when to bend and when to bolt. Core strengths: visionary, humanitarian, and unshakably unique. There's no one else quite like you. February 14th Aquarians are the idea makers, the truth speakers, and the rule breakers. You aren't just smart, you're future-minded. While others get lost in the past, you're mapping what's next. Your top strengths include visionary thinking. You see problems and solutions long before others even notice them. You often gravitate toward new technologies, progressive movements, or cutting-edge theories. You live in tomorrow. Bold independence. You don't follow, you lead, even if no one's behind you yet. Your life is a custom blueprint, and you fiercely resist anyone trying to edit it. Empathy for causes. While you may seem aloof in one-on-one moments, your compassion for humanity is deep. You care about the bigger picture: equality, justice, innovation for the greater good. Creative innovation. You don't just think creatively, you are creativity in motion. You find beauty in the bizarre and turn strange ideas into breakthrough results. Whether in your career, your art, or your conversations, you constantly push the envelope. You don't fit into molds, you invent new ones. Core challenges: idealism meets isolation. Of course, every light casts a shadow. With your forward-thinking mind and strong-willed heart, you may struggle in more grounded or emotionally raw environments. You often need to learn how to balance your independence with intimacy, and your idealism with patience. Watch out for stubborn idealism. You may believe your way is the right way, which makes it hard to compromise or see value in other perspectives. Emotional aloofness. You care deeply, but you sometimes hide your heart behind intellect. People close to you may feel emotionally locked out. Escapism. When things get too heavy or too repetitive, you vanish. It's not because you don't care, it's because you need to breathe air, not drown in feelings. Resistance to tradition. Some structures exist for a reason. Your instinct is to challenge everything, but not every tradition is your enemy. As you mature, many of these traits evolve. You learn to soften without losing strength, to stay while still flying free, to love without losing yourself. That's your true magic, knowing when to rebel and when to root. Conclusion: the cosmic contradiction. To be born on February 14th is to live as a cosmic contradiction, a rebellious romantic, an intellectual idealist, a lover of freedom who secretly craves connection. You're ruled by Uranus, yet touched by Venus. You're an air sign with fire in your chest. You challenge, you innovate, you uplift. And even though you may spend your life feeling misunderstood, you're exactly who the future needs. You are Aquarius, with a spark of something much more. Ove, sex marriage, the cosmic romantic. For those born on February 14th, love is never just romance, it's a revolution. You're not here for surface-level connections or fairy tale cliches. You're wired for depth, complexity, and mental electricity. Love, for you, is a cosmic experience, a spiritual and intellectual collaboration between two people who see the world just a little differently than everyone else. You're not just seeking a lover. You're looking for a partner in crime, a co-visionary, a soulmate who feels like a brainstorm. Your Aquarian nature adds independence and uniqueness to everything you touch, and this includes how you give and receive love. You need connection, yes, but you need it on your terms, with freedom, mutual respect, and above all, room to grow. You don't fall in love with appearances or status. You fall in love with ideas, ideals, and the soul behind the words. And once you're in, but never at the cost of your individuality. Your love style: independent, idealistic, and emotionally intelligent. You don't follow conventional dating rules, and honestly, you're suspicious of them. Traditional roles feel limiting. Courtship is not about flowers and forced dinners, it's about connection, mental curiosity, and emotional integrity. You're drawn to people who are a little odd, intensely thoughtful, socially aware, or wildly creative. Boring is your biggest turn-off. You want a partner who thinks outside the box, respects your space, doesn't try to own you, inspires you to be more of who you already are. While you may not wear your heart on your sleeve, your capacity to love is enormous, it just looks different. You may show love by sending a strange but meaningful meme at 2 a.m., or by encouraging your partner's weirdest dreams. You're affectionate in quirky, specific, and unexpectedly romantic ways. However, you can be emotionally reserved at times. Your feelings run deep, but you often process them through thought before expression. That means partners may not always feel your depth unless they know how to look for it, or unless you consciously choose to open that door. Your sexual nature, intellectual heat and experimental passion. For February 14th natives, sex is never just physical. You need intellectual stimulation to feel truly turned on. Conversation, philosophy, humor, shared rebellion, these are your aphrodisiacs. If your mind isn't activated, your body probably won't be either. Your sexuality is curious, creative, emotionally layered, uninterested in performance, but devoted to experience. You're open to experimentation, but only in a space of mutual trust and freedom. You don't like rules or expectations in the bedroom, you prefer fluid, intuitive exploration. You're as much a giver as a receiver, and your focus is often on mutual pleasure rather than conquest or routine. Mental foreplay is key. Whisper an idea, challenge a belief, or invite a partner into an unusual experience, and you'll light up from the inside out. You enjoy bending boundaries, but you're never reckless. Consent, emotional connection, and respect are sacred to you, even in the wildest moments. Your approach to commitment and marriage, unconventional but deeply loyal. Despite your rebellious streak, you are capable of profound commitment, but only when it's authentic, equal, and spacious. You're not the type to rush into marriage. In fact, you may avoid it entirely if it feels like a social construct rather than a soulful union. Many February 14th Aquarians marry later in life, after years of self-discovery and perhaps a few deep, transformative relationships. When you do choose marriage, you approach it as a partnership of growth. You want someone who challenges you, supports your purpose, and gives you room to evolve. You're not afraid of loyalty, you're afraid of stagnation. If a relationship grows stale, your interest evaporates quickly. Your ideal spouse believes in your dreams, has their own independent life, doesn't take emotional distance personally, knows how to create emotional intimacy without pressure. Routine is your greatest enemy in marriage. You need fresh experiences, new conversations, and periodic reinvention. The good news? When you find the right person, your relationship becomes a living laboratory of love, a constantly evolving space where you both feel free and safe. Best zodiac matches for February 14th lovers. Your romantic chemistry is strongest with signs that stimulate your mind, honor your independence, and aren't intimidated by your intensity. You need a partner who's both grounded and flexible, someone who doesn't just tolerate your quirks, they adore them. Gemini, a natural match. Your minds spark like lightning together. Conversations never end, ideas flow constantly, and neither of you takes things too seriously. The emotional connection may take time, but the mental compatibility is through the roof. Libra, balance meets innovation. Libras bring grace and charm to your mental world, and you return the favor with wild ideas and passion. You share a love for art, justice, and social connection. Together, you're the stylish, intellectual power couple. Sagittarius, your shared love of freedom and truth makes this a dynamic duo. Sagittarius keeps you laughing and moving, while you bring insight and innovation to their fiery optimism. It's not always emotionally deep at first, but it can evolve beautifully with effort. Leo, fire meets air in a bold, opposites attract kind of way. Leos crave attention and affection, Aquarians bring mystery and intrigue. You challenge each other, but when it clicks, the passion is magnetic and creative. Challenging zodiac matches for February 14th natives. While no sign is truly incompatible, some connections will naturally take more work. These signs may push your buttons or pull you out of alignment unless both people are very self-aware. Taurus, this sign's need for stability and predictability may feel suffocating. You want change and surprise. Taurus wants comfort and control. Unless there's shared vision and deep compromise, the energy mismatch can wear you down. Scorpio, emotional intensity meets intellectual distance. Scorpios crave emotional fusion, which may feel invasive or overly intense for your air-driven nature. Power struggles or control issues can arise unless you both learn to meet in the middle. Cancer, this sensitive water sign can be too emotionally demanding. You appreciate emotional depth, but not clinginess. Cancer's tendency to retreat into emotional shell work can confuse or exhaust you. It can work, but only if they don't take your independence personally. The emotional blueprint of the February 14th soul. At the heart of it all, February 14th individuals are cosmic romantics who want something more meaningful, more expansive, more mentally and spiritually charged. You are not here to simply settle down. You are here to elevate love into something that liberates and transforms. Your relationships are not perfect, but they're authentic. You challenge the people you love to grow, and you welcome challenges in return. You won't stay in a relationship just to feel secure. You'd rather be alone than be unseen. And when you love, truly love, you love the entire person, their flaws, dreams, fears, and soul. If love is a classroom, you're both the student and the teacher. If it's a revolution, you're already leading the charge. This is what it means to love like a February 14th Aquarian, unconventional, unforgettable, and undeniably electric. Friendship, social life, the magnetic rebel. To be born on February 14th is to walk the world with the vibe of a charismatic outsider, someone who doesn't just belong in every room, but subtly remakes the energy of it. You're not the loudest voice, but you're the most interesting. The moment you enter a space, something shifts. People notice, not because you're trying to be noticed, but because your energy is naturally electric, different, and quietly commanding. You don't chase attention, it finds you. Your friendship style is defined by a strange mix of intimacy and independence. You're not needy, you don't hover, and you definitely don't demand daily updates. But when you do show up, you show up with depth, brilliance, and unexpected support. You're the friend who won't just offer tissues when someone's crying. You'll hand them a blueprint for starting over, a weird metaphor about transformation, and a playlist that somehow makes everything feel okay again. The circle you keep, a tribe of originals. Your social circle isn't based on appearances, convenience, or shared hobbies. It's based on energy, intellect, and ideals. You're drawn to people who don't fit in, because you don't either, not really. Even when you're surrounded by friends, there's a part of you that stands slightly to the side, watching, absorbing, thinking. And it's not loneliness, it's your way of connecting on your own terms. You attract the misfits, people who've never quite found their place, and don't want to fake it anymore. The visionaries, thinkers, creators, and rule breakers who want to build something real. The artists, those who live in metaphor, color, and chaos, and see life as an unfinished canvas. The rebels, people with a cause, a passion, or a middle finger pointed at the system. What unites your friends isn't similarity, it's authenticity. Everyone in your circle is their own genre, their own movement, their own storm. And you're the lightning rod. The vanishing act, why you sometimes disappear. Here's something people close to you learn quickly: you're not always available. Not because you don't care, in fact, you care so much it sometimes overwhelms you. But you have an inner world that needs solitude. Constant socializing exhausts you, and you often require time to recharge, reflect, and realign with yourself. Your disappearances aren't rejection, they're restoration. You might go silent for days or weeks or months, but when you return, it's like nothing changed. Because for you, friendship isn't about frequency, it's about depth. And real friends, they get that. Still, This pattern can confuse or hurt people who crave more consistency. To avoid misunderstandings, it's helpful to communicate your need for space with honesty. When you let others in on your rhythm, they're more likely to respect it and love you even more for your authenticity. The life of the party, just not in the middle of it. You're the kind of person who somehow knows everyone, yet never quite looks like you're trying. At parties, you might be the one having a strange, life-changing conversation in the corner while everyone else is dancing. Or maybe you're moving from group to group, dropping insight, laughter, and chaos like glitter. You don't need to be the center of attention, in fact, you'd rather not be. But you have a way of making people feel seen, which is rarer and more powerful than being seen yourself. You ask weird questions, you listen in unconventional ways. You remember small, significant things. People trust you because your presence feels genuine, safe, and alive. Even in large groups, you hold your shape. You never fully blend. You're like a song in a different key, still part of the music, but unmistakably distinct. Your social legacy, connecting ideas, not just people. What sets February 14th individuals apart in the social realm is that you're not just building friendships, you're building systems of connection. You're a connector of people, yes, but more profoundly, you connect ideas, movements, and communities. You're likely the friend who introduces an artist to an entrepreneur and sparks a movement, starts an online group that turns into a social initiative, hosts gatherings where strangers become collaborators, asks questions that shift conversations and sometimes lives. You use your social capital to create opportunities, to amplify overlooked voices, and to gently dismantle outdated dynamics. You may not consider yourself a networker, but you are, just in the most untraditional, impactful way possible. You influence not through charm alone, but through truth, originality, and vision. People leave your presence feeling more themselves, more curious, more free. That's your legacy in friendships, not just that you were fun or cool or loyal, but that you expanded people's capacity to live more authentically. Friendship with you is never ordinary, and that's the gift. Loving you as a friend means expecting deep talks at midnight and zero small talk. Accepting that connection doesn't always come with a calendar. Being surprised, challenged, and awakened, constantly. Knowing that loyalty doesn't mean showing up every day, but showing up when it matters most. You give friendships the space to breathe and the depth to matter. You don't hold people tightly, but they don't drift far. Why? Because your presence is unforgettable. You are the rare combination of wild and wise, of chaos and clarity, of stillness and storm. Friendship with you is never ordinary. It's sacred, strange, and spectacular, just like you. Numerology, the number 5 life path. If you were born on February 14th, your life path number, the single most significant number in your personal numerology, is 5. That's not just a number. It's a blueprint. It tells the story of your soul's mission, your innate temperament, and the patterns that define your life's rhythm. And the number 5? It's the wild card of the numerological deck, the explorer, the thrill seeker, the change maker. To find it, we reduce your birth date 14 to a single digit. 1 plus 4 equals 5. What does this mean? In a word, freedom. In 5 words, you were born to move mountains. The core energy of 5, freedom, change, and curiosity. The number 5 is ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication, speed, wit, and mental agility. That gives you an intellectual supercharge, a mind that races, absorbs, and dissects at the speed of thought. But this number isn't just about brains, it's about experience. You crave freedom of movement, freedom of thought, freedom of lifestyle, freedom to choose again and again. Routine, repetition, and restriction are like quicksand to you. You need change like other people need sleep. You're the kind of person who thrives in chaos, adapts in seconds, and reinvents themselves before the world even knows what's happening. You don't follow the roadmap, you burn it and build your own trail. Your curiosity is endless. You're not here to live a small, safe life. You're here to taste everything: ideas, cultures, sensations, risks. The world isn't just a place you live in. It's a playground, a classroom, a puzzle, and you want every piece. The communicator, words are your magic. People with a life path 5 often have a natural gift for language. Whether it's writing, speaking, performing, persuading, or storytelling, your voice carries power. You don't just speak to be heard, you speak to move people, to spark thought, to ignite change. This gift makes you a brilliant conversationalist, a compelling speaker, a natural teacher or motivator, a master of adapting your tone to fit any room. You could host a podcast, write a memoir, lead a movement, or sell out a room with your storytelling. People listen when you talk, because you talk like you've seen things. And you have. But communication isn't just about sharing. It's also about connecting. You're the type who can talk to anyone, from CEOs to street artists, because you see value in every voice. You're not interested in surface chatter. You want conversations that go somewhere. The restless soul, why stillness feels like death. The dark side of the 5, restlessness, a constant hunger for what's next can leave you feeling like nothing's ever enough. You're always seeking the next thrill, the next job, the next city, the next version of yourself. You may start many things and finish few, not out of laziness, but because you outgrow things quickly. You get bored easily, with routines, relationships, ideologies. But boredom, for you, isn't just an inconvenience. It's a soul-level alarm bell telling you something needs to change. Immediately. This means traditional structures like 9-to-5 jobs or long-term routines may feel suffocating. You may change careers, homes, or even identities more than once. You resist emotional patterns that feel predictable or stagnant. You are constantly drawn to people and places that challenge or surprise you. But here's the paradox. Your greatest transformation often comes when you learn how to stay just long enough to deepen. Mastery, intimacy, and fulfillment live on the other side of your impulse to flee. You don't have to stop moving, but you do need to know why you're moving. The magnetic charisma, people can't look away. There's a magnetism to life path 5s that can't be taught. You walk into a room and people notice, not because you're the loudest, but because you radiate possibility. There's something unpredictable about you, something just wild enough to intrigue and unsettle. You have charisma without effort, flirtation without attachment, confidence without arrogance, a spark that people want to understand but never fully can. You're not just attractive, you're addictive. Your spontaneity, your laughter, your depth, your refusal to follow the script, it's all intoxicating. But for your own sake and theirs, it's important to use your charm with intention. Not everyone can keep up with your emotional pace, and some may mistake your electricity for permanence when it was really just passing weather. In relationships and friendships, you're drawn to people who give you space to breathe, challenge you mentally, and can evolve alongside you. You'll never be satisfied with a partner who just completes you. You need someone who helps you expand. The sacred purpose of Life Path 5, evolution. At its highest level, the number 5 isn't about running away. It's about breaking open, shattering limitations, both internal and external. You're not here to live one story. You're here to live several, fully, bravely, and unapologetically. Your life is meant to be a series of personal revolutions, a collection of unpredictable chapters, a journey from chaos to clarity, and back again. You're not afraid of risk. You're afraid of regret, and so you leap, over fear, over comfort, over boundaries, because standing still feels like betrayal. But here's the wisdom you'll gather along the way. Freedom isn't the absence of structure. It's finding the structure that matches your soul. And when you do, everything opens. Your creativity flows, your relationships deepen, and your purpose becomes magnetic. Your challenges, restlessness, inconsistency, fear of routine, aren't weaknesses. They're clues. They point you toward what you most need to evolve: balance, grounding, self-trust. You don't need to tame your wildness, just learn to aim it. The final word: a life that refuses to be tamed. To be a February 14th soul on a Life Path 5 is to live with constant momentum. You are a storm in motion, a storyteller of many lifetimes, a soul who refuses to live half-heartedly. Your life won't be quiet, and it's not supposed to be. Your path won't be linear, and that's your power. Your destiny isn't to follow. It's to lead, not people, but possibilities. You were born to try, to fail, to fly, to transform, over and over again. That's not chaos. That's freedom with a purpose. That's what it means to live as a true life path. 5. Druid Horoscope, the cedar tree. If you were born on February 14th, your soul aligns with the cedar tree in the ancient Druid tree zodiac, a mystical system rooted in Celtic wisdom, where each tree represents a powerful archetype of personality, destiny, and spirit. The cedar, known as the confident one, is no ordinary tree. It stands tall, evergreen, and unshakable, a living emblem of inner nobility, magnetic presence, and natural leadership. The Druids didn't just assign symbolic traits to trees, they believed trees carried living energy, and to be born under the cedar's influence meant you were chosen to stand out. You weren't made to blend in with the forest. You were made to anchor it, guide it, and inspire it to grow. The essence of cedar: noble, magnetic, and mysterious. Cedar-born individuals carry a natural dignity, not arrogance, but quiet authority. You have an energy that commands attention without asking for it. People may not always understand why they're drawn to you, but they are. It's something in your voice, your stance, your stillness, a presence that suggests wisdom, even when you're not speaking. Your soul essence is grounded yet visionary, reserved but magnetic, confident without needing validation. Cedar is associated with resilience, protection, and purification. In ancient rituals, cedarwood was burned to cleanse spaces and spirits, which mirrors your ability to disrupt toxicity and restore emotional balance. People may come to you in chaos and leave calmer, clearer, stronger. But don't mistake your peaceful energy for passivity. You are a natural leader, the type who doesn't impose authority but embodies it. You don't shout commands, you set a standard. You don't chase power, it flows to you, organically, because of your depth and integrity. The inner world of the cedar soul: elegant strength and quiet depth. Your emotional world is deeply anchored. You don't crumble easily, and you rarely show your full vulnerability on the surface. You may appear calm during crises, but this isn't detachment. It's your ability to hold space, to stay grounded while others fall apart. You're the emotional cedarwood in someone's storm, strong, flexible, and always reaching toward light. At your core, you value honor over popularity. You seek truth more than comfort. You are guided by principle, not trend. There's also a deeply spiritual side to you. Even if you're not religious, you likely feel connected to something larger, whether that's nature, the cosmos, or a personal moral code. You instinctively understand that life has layers beyond the visible. You may not always talk about it, but you feel it, live by it, and quietly share it through your actions. The social role of the cedar: the wise protector. In the ancient Druidic tribes, cedar people were seen as guardians, advisors, protectors, and quiet influencers. You have a knack for knowing what others need, often before they ask. You don't meddle, but you do watch closely. When you speak, people listen, because your words carry weight. They weren't rushed, they were chosen with care. In social circles, you may not be the loudest, but you're always the most grounded. You bring a calming, stabilizing presence to any room. You're seen as wise, even when you're young. Friends come to you for advice, clarity, and truth that doesn't sting. You also have a mysterious side. You reveal yourself slowly, like a deep forest mist. People may feel they know you, yet sense there's always more. You're not hiding, you're protecting the sacredness of your inner world, revealing it only to those who've earned your trust. Challenges for the cedar tree personality: guardedness and over-control. Every tree has its shadow, and for the cedar, it's the tendency to be too guarded, too self-contained, or too controlling of your environment. You may feel like you have to hold it all together for everyone, and forget that you need space to break, feel, or ask for help. Be mindful of closing off emotionally when hurt. Assuming others can't meet your standards. being slow to trust or overly self-reliant, avoiding vulnerability under the guise of strength. Remember, real strength allows for softness. You don't have to carry the world alone. Let others surprise you with their capacity to hold space for you too. The purpose of the Cedar-born, grounded evolution and spiritual leadership. Your sacred role in this life is to be a bridge between the physical and the spiritual, the old and the new, the chaos and the calm. You were born to lead with grace, to stabilize transformation, and to bring elegance to revolution. You're not here to dominate. You're here to guide, and people are ready to follow, not because they're forced, but because your life is an example of what aligned power looks like. You're the type who mentors without ego, protects without control, inspires without needing credit, changes lives quietly and permanently. Your growth comes from learning to balance authority with vulnerability, stability with change, and wisdom with playfulness. Conclusion: you are the evergreen in a forest of fads. To be born under the cedar tree is to walk through life with deep roots and far-reaching branches. You are strong without being hard, spiritual without being preachy, and mysterious without being distant. You are elegant by nature, trusted by instinct, and respected without trying. In a world obsessed with speed and noise, you offer something ancient, grounding, and sacred. You are the quiet revolution, the living truth, and the magnetic heart of the forest. That is the power, and the gift, of the cedar tree. Vedic Astrology, Kumbha Rashi Aquarius Moon Sign. In Vedic astrology, or Jyotish Shastra, the moon sign plays a more significant role than the sun sign. While Western astrology emphasizes the outward personality, the moon in Vedic tradition reveals your emotional core, mental makeup, and subconscious motivations, in other words, who you really are when no one's looking. If you were born on or around February 14th, your moon is likely in Kumbha Rashi, or Aquarius moon sign, a powerful placement that blends intellect, spiritual detachment, and futuristic vision. Kumbha Rashi isn't about emotions in the conventional sense. It's about mental depth, social ideals, and a fierce commitment to individuality. You may not be overtly expressive or sentimental, but your loyalty runs deep, and your emotional life is complex, private, and purpose-driven. The emotional blueprint of a Kumbha Rashi native. Your inner world is ruled by logic before feeling, ideas before impulses. While this doesn't make you cold, it does make you selectively expressive. You analyze your emotions rather than get swept up in them. You may come across as emotionally distant at first, but this is simply your way of processing before reacting. You're cautious with vulnerability, not because you lack depth, but because your trust must be earned through authenticity. When you do care, you care in ways that are profound, though often invisible. Your emotional loyalty is built on shared purpose, mental connection, and philosophical alignment. You are far more moved by ideas of justice, truth, and progress than emotional drama. Your emotional patterns often include keeping your inner turmoil hidden to avoid burdening others, valuing solitude as a necessary part of your mental health, expressing love through actions, not sentimentality, needing space to reflect and recharge after social interactions. In essence, your moon in Kumbha Rashi gives you a cool flame, steady, bright, and capable of warming those close to you, even if it never flares up dramatically. The spiritual visionary, your inner quest for truth and liberation. Kumbha Rashi is not just intellectual, it's inherently spiritual, though in a non-traditional sense. You are a seeker of truth, but you distrust dogma and ritual that feels hollow. Your spirituality is often self-invented, personal, and deeply experimental. You may explore different belief systems, philosophies, and mystic traditions before crafting your own hybrid truth. You're drawn to the mystical over the material, the unseen layers of reality, the intersection between science and spirit, the soul behind the system. This makes you a natural healer, teacher, and guide, but only when you feel internally aligned. You won't preach what you don't practice, and you certainly won't follow beliefs blindly. Your spirituality is fueled by freedom, inner clarity, and a mission to uplift collective consciousness. Even if you never speak of it openly, there is a quiet sense that your soul remembers something timeless. You're here to challenge illusions, question everything, and rebuild from a higher frequency. Shatabisha Nakshatra, the star of 100 healers. If your moon falls within the Shatabisha Nakshatra, a star cluster within Kumbha Rashi, it adds another layer of mysticism, intensity, and transformation. Shatabisha, which translates to 100 physicians or 100 healers, is ruled by Rahu, the shadow planet that governs illusion, unconventional power, and karmic breakthroughs. This nakshatra gives you a soul assignment to pierce through the veils of illusion, personal, cultural, or spiritual, and to facilitate healing, whether in yourself or others. It's no coincidence that many born under Shatabisha are drawn to holistic medicine, energy work, psychology and shadow work, scientific innovation in wellness, spiritual counseling or astrology. You may wrestle with inner storms that feel difficult to articulate, the price of being attuned to unseen dimensions. But over time, your pain becomes your power. Your journey becomes a healing map for others. You are not just a healer of wounds, you are a healer of systems. Shatabisha also gives you an aura of mystery. Others sense that you know more than you say, that you're connected to something deeper, and they're right. You carry ancient insight wrapped in modern energy. You are both the rebel and the medicine. Relationships through the Vedic lens, detached but devoted. Emotionally, Kumbha Rashi doesn't fall easily, but once it does, it commits through purpose rather than pure emotion. You are the kind of partner who values mental compatibility above physical attraction, freedom within the relationship, not dependency, shared social or spiritual vision, authenticity and honesty as non-negotiables. While others may expect grand gestures or emotional declarations, you offer consistency, presence, and integrity. You may not say, "I love you," often, but you'll build a life that honors someone's soul. However, relationships must allow for space and independence. Codependency is your kryptonite. You need a partner who understands that alone time isn't rejection, it's emotional maintenance. If someone clings, you retreat. But if they trust you and let you breathe, you bloom. Marriage, when it comes, is less about romance and more about co-creating a higher purpose. You're most attracted to those who are intellectually curious, socially conscious, or spiritually awake. Life path and dharma according to Kumbha Rashi. Your dharma, or soul's purpose, as a Kumbha moon is to be an agent of change, a thinker of unthinkable thoughts, and a builder of better systems. You are not here to maintain the old, you are here to envision and embody the future. This manifests as advocating for social justice or humanitarian causes, innovating in areas like education, science, mental health, or technology, merging mysticism with science or art with activism, becoming a guide, teacher, or thought leader. You are here to challenge outdated models and introduce new paradigms, sometimes gently, sometimes through full-on disruption. Your life is meant to inspire collective elevation, even if you do it behind the scenes, through writing, research, or silent influence. Your obstacles, emotional isolation, distrust, or chronic overthinking, are also your initiations. As you learn to integrate feeling with thought and solitude with service, your life becomes a beacon for others. Conclusion: the Kumbha Rashi soul is the silent catalyst. To be born with the moon in Kumbha Rashi is to be quietly radical, fiercely free, and spiritually sophisticated. You are the soul who walks beside others during transformation, asking hard questions, holding space, and guiding them toward deeper truths, often without needing recognition. You are not loud in your power, but your presence shifts paradigms. You are not traditional in your heart, but your love is enduring and noble. You are not flashy in your journey, but your purpose is profound. In a world full of noise, you are the quiet awakening. That is the gift, and the destiny, of a Kumbha Rashi moon. Flower horoscope, orchid. If you were born on February 14th, your symbolic flower is the orchid, a bloom unlike any other. Mysterious, elegant, rare, and deeply layered, the orchid perfectly mirrors the essence of your personality. While roses may belong to the masses, the orchid belongs to the extraordinary. And so do you. In flower symbolism across cultures, the orchid has always stood for refined beauty, inner strength, and spiritual intelligence. It's a flower that doesn't shout for attention, it commands it with quiet complexity. You won't find orchids thriving just anywhere. Like you, they require the right environment, a bit of mystery, and time to fully unfold their magic. The beauty of the orchid, unconventional and hypnotic. You are not someone who tries to impress the world, you intrigue it. Your beauty, like the orchids, is non-traditional. It's found in your intelligence, your thoughtfulness, your elegance of thought and presence. You carry yourself with a kind of effortless distinction. People may not know why they're drawn to you, but they are, over and over again. Your presence is subtle but unforgettable, soft-spoken but influential, calm on the surface, with wild depth underneath. The orchid represents those who bloom later, deeper, or differently. You may not follow a traditional path, but everything you do is deliberate, refined, and authentically yours. Your strength is in your stillness, your intuition, and your refusal to compromise your essence for convenience. The symbolism behind the orchid: mystery, fertility, and resilience. Historically, orchids have symbolized everything from fertility and luxury in ancient China, to mystery and sensuality in Victorian England. The Greeks believed orchids represented virility and power. In Aztec culture, they were blended with cacao and consumed for spiritual stamina. What unites all these meanings is the idea that orchids are charged with life force, with an energy that is potent, pure, and not of the ordinary world. You, as an orchid soul, may not always express yourself openly. But your energy is undeniable. You walk into a room and the atmosphere shifts, not because you demand it, but because your vibration carries a different frequency. You were born to elevate, to enchant, and to awaken. You're also incredibly resilient. Orchids can thrive in tough conditions, growing high in trees or blooming in unlikely places. Likewise, your strength doesn't look like brute force. It looks like adaptability, grace under pressure, and emotional precision. You're the person others lean on during chaos, not because you're loud, but because you're centered. The emotional nature of the orchid personality: private yet passionate. Emotionally, you tend to hold back at first, much like the slow bloom of an orchid. You don't give your heart away easily, and you're cautious about who gets to enter your inner garden. But when you do open, you love with intensity, loyalty, and depth that few can match. You are deeply romantic, but only with the right soul. Attracted to beauty, art, and hidden layers of meaning. Guarded until someone proves they're worthy of your trust. Passionate in quiet, intentional ways. Because your emotional landscape is so rich, it can be hard for you to find people who understand your rhythms. You're turned off by superficiality and drawn to emotional intelligence, authentic connection, and mental chemistry. Your love language might be quality time, subtle gestures, or thoughtful acts. You might not always say how you feel in words, but you show it in details. In small, sacred rituals. In creating beauty around the people you love. The orchid's call: cultivating rare beauty in a loud world. As a February 14th orchid soul, your mission isn't to blend in, it's to inspire from the edges. Your very nature challenges society's obsession with quickness, loudness, and constant display. You teach others the value of patience, presence, and perception. You have a role to play in elevating the spaces you enter. Whether it's through your work, your words, or your energy, you remind others to seek substance over style, intention over impulse, meaning over noise. You might be drawn to careers or creative paths that allow you to curate beauty, art, design, fashion, aesthetics. Offer insight psychology, counseling, spiritual work. Create atmosphere, event planning, hospitality, branding. Tell stories through layers, writing, filmmaking, poetry. But even beyond your profession, you create atmosphere wherever you go. You bring warmth to cold rooms. You bring elegance to chaos. You bring insight to confusion. And often, you do it all without even realizing it. Conclusion: the orchid is not for everyone, but it's everything to the right eyes. You weren't born to be universally understood, and you don't need to be. Like the orchid, your power lies in your rarity. You don't bloom for attention. You bloom when the light feels right. You don't follow the crowd. You turn inward and bloom upward. To be a February 14th soul, born under the sign of the orchid, is to live as a paradox. Delicate, but unbreakable. Private, but powerful. Gentle, but transformative. Let others be roses. You are something rarer. Let others bloom loudly. You bloom with depth. And the world, if it's wise, will notice. Stone horoscope, amethyst. If you were born on February 14th, your cosmic companion in the mineral world is the amethyst, a stone of spiritual depth, intuitive clarity, and protective energy. Amethyst isn't just a beautiful crystal, it's a frequency, a living reminder that your soul was designed to seek truth beyond logic, calm within chaos, and meaning in every mystery. It's not a coincidence this is your birthstone. Amethyst reflects who you are, and who you're becoming. This isn't a stone for the superficial or the rigid. Amethyst belongs to the dreamers, the thinkers, the healers, the revolutionaries. It vibrates on a frequency that supports transformation and transcendence, perfect for someone like you, who lives with one foot in reality and one in the realm of vision. The spiritual intelligence of amethyst, awakening your inner mystic. Amethyst is known in metaphysical traditions as a stone of spiritual awakening. It opens the third eye chakra, helping you access intuition, wisdom, and divine guidance. For someone born on February 14th, already gifted with a curious, innovative, and rebellious mind, amethyst serves as a spiritual compass. It doesn't just amplify your insight, it refines it. You may already notice you have a deep inner knowing, vivid dreams or intuitive flashes, a sense that you just know what others can't explain. A strong pull toward metaphysics, astrology, or higher consciousness. Amethyst doesn't just support this part of you, it activates it. Meditate with it, place it by your bed, wear it over your heart. When you're trying to make a decision, especially in emotional or creative areas, amethyst acts as a subtle but powerful guide. It's like having a cosmic translator in your pocket, helping you listen to your own soul with more clarity. The emotional role of amethyst, soothing the overthinking mind. As someone born under the sign of Aquarius, with a likely life path 5 in numerology and a moon in the Kumbha Rashi Aquarius, your mind never stops. You're always analyzing, imagining, forecasting, decoding, and while this makes you brilliant, it can also leave you overstimulated and emotionally fragmented. Amethyst is your nervous system's best friend. It calms the spinning gears of thought and brings you into a quieter, more peaceful state of being. It helps soothe anxiety and stress, ease insomnia and overexcitement, promote emotional regulation, bring mental stillness in moments of overwhelm. In other words, amethyst helps you slow down just enough to hear yourself again. When you're overwhelmed by noise, both external and internal, amethyst acts like a spiritual noise-canceling headphone. It reminds you, your clarity is not in more thinking, it's in stillness. You don't need to escape your thoughts. You just need a moment of quiet to realign. And that's what this stone delivers. Amethyst and protection, guarding the edge of your energy field. As a person who tends to live on the edge of innovation, you're constantly interacting with ideas, people, and energies that can be draining, chaotic, or simply too much. You likely attract people who are intense, curious, or emotionally complicated, because your energy is magnetic and healing. But you also need boundaries. Amethyst is a natural energetic protector. It acts like a shield for your aura, blocking negativity, psychic clutter, and emotional debris that doesn't belong to you. This protection is especially helpful if you absorb the emotions of others, feel drained after social interaction, work in emotional or service-based environments, struggle with maintaining clear energetic boundaries. Wearing amethyst or placing it near you during conversations, public events, or digital work like social media or Zoom helps filter out what isn't yours. It strengthens your internal boundaries so you can show up fully, without leaking energy. It's not about being defensive. It's about being sovereign. Amethyst reminds you, you can be empathetic and protected, open and contained. connected and whole. Amethyst and purpose, returning to the reason you're here. When you feel lost, in your career, your calling, your relationships, amethyst helps you tune back into your higher self. You weren't born to follow the crowd. You were born to change the story. But even visionaries get confused. Even rebels need recalibration. That's where amethyst comes in. This crystal supports remembering your true values, making aligned decisions, reigniting your sense of mission, letting go of false goals and outdated dreams. You might feel moments in life where everything external seems to be shifting, careers, relationships, beliefs, and the inner question becomes, what's real? What still fits? Amethyst gives you the spiritual signal to stop chasing and start listening. To ask not, what should I do? But, what feels true now? You don't need a 5-year plan. You need a 5-minute conversation with your intuition. Amethyst holds the space for that conversation to happen, clearly, courageously, and without fear. The legacy of the amethyst soul: subtle power, unshakable wisdom. To be born under the influence of amethyst is to walk through the world with a rare type of power, the kind that doesn't shout but shifts rooms. The kind that doesn't seek control but creates harmony. The kind that doesn't need recognition but is felt deeply by everyone you meet. Amethyst people move with quiet confidence, love without expectation, teach without preaching, heal without claiming credit. Your legacy won't be measured by what you built or how loudly you spoke. It will be measured by how many people felt seen, safe, and inspired in your presence. You are the emotional lighthouse in other people's storms, the calm center in a chaotic world, the reminder that softness is not weakness, and that silence can hold more wisdom than 1,000 words. You don't wear your magic. You radiate it. You don't force insight. You embody it. And you don't chase power. You are it, quietly, consistently, and unmistakably. Conclusion: amethyst isn't just your stone, it's your mirror. It reflects your intuitive depth, emotional intelligence, spiritual vision, subtle strength. Let it remind you of what you already are: grounded, gifted, and galactically guided. Carry it when you forget. Meditate with it when you doubt. Sleep near it when you need rest that reaches the soul. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to be an amethyst soul in a noisy world, a gentle healer, a quiet storm, a revolutionary wrapped in grace. The cosmic summary: to be born on February 14th is to live as a walking paradox, part stardust, part structure, part firebrand, part philosopher. You are the rebel with a cause, the romantic with boundaries, the visionary who somehow still remembers to hold the door open. The universe gave you a strange and beautiful assignment: to challenge everything and still love deeply, to question endlessly and still believe in people. You don't fit into categories because you weren't designed to. You're here to disrupt and elevate, to illuminate and unsettle, to dream wildly and act precisely. Everything about your cosmic blueprint, from your Aquarius sun to your life path 5, from your cedar roots to your amethyst spirit, says one thing: you are not here to play small. You are an Aquarius rebel, with a mind that electrifies the air and a soul that resists every mold. You are innovation personified. You're here to build what's next, not babysit what's broken. A life path 5 explorer, forever in motion, forever transforming. You live to experience, to feel, to taste every corner of this life. Freedom isn't your desire, it's your destiny. A cedar tree warrior, quietly powerful, unshakably wise. You stand tall not by force, but by presence. Others feel stronger just standing near you. A Shatabisha healer, drawn to what's hidden, called to reveal truth. You heal not just individuals, but systems, patterns, and paradigms. An orchid in a garden of daisies, elegant without trying, magnetic without noise. You bloom differently, and the world is more beautiful because you do. An amethyst soul in a noisy world, sensitive, psychic, and sovereign. Your presence brings calm to chaos, clarity to confusion, and peace to places people didn't know needed healing. So what does it really mean to be born on Valentine's Day? It doesn't mean you're just romantic. It means you love like a revolution, with intellect, with purpose, with vision. It means your heart doesn't just beat, it builds. It means you don't just fall in love, you elevate the people you love. You're here to question everything, but still hold hope. To feel everything, but still move forward. To build what doesn't exist yet, because deep down, you know that it should. So the next time someone asks what it's like to be born on February 14th, don't just say, romantic. Say this: I'm a blueprint for the future, a pulse of revolution, a soft soul with a sharp mind, and I'm only just getting started. Now that you know who you are, what will you do with this cosmic fire? If you loved this deep cosmic breakdown of your February 14th destiny, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a soul-expanding upload. Check out our other videos on astrology, numerology, and mystical self-discovery, and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter for daily drops of zodiac insight.